Hi everyone, and welcome to another one of our St. T's Worship Hangouts. We're here to keep each other sharp, both musically and spiritually in this season, and I'm so pleased to have Joe Bright with us. Joe's part of the Minster over in Preston. If you don't know where we're from Lancaster, so sort of just north of Preston. I'm worship pastor at St. Thomas's in Lancaster, and it's our privilege to have Joe with us. Joe, do you want to share just a little bit about kind of who you are, how have you ended up in Preston, and yeah, what's been going on for you guys?
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much for having me. It's been great to get to know Jono over the last couple of months since we've been in Preston. So yeah, as you said, we just moved recently, well, coming up to a year actually, back in July last year. So yeah, coming up to a year. And basically, Preston Minster's a church that's been around for years and years and years, but on the invitation of the bishop, HTB have come to replant and relaunch Preston Minster in probably a different sort of vibe really to what it was. So yeah, it's amazing. We've got an amazing team that came together from all parts of the country really. So I grew up in a town called Atherton, which is in like Greater Manchester, a little town there near Bolton actually. So yeah, it feels like coming home actually, because we spent a lot of time down south in Watford and around that area in Hertfordshire. So yeah, it feels like we've come back home to the northwest, which is brilliant. Which yeah, we love it. And then in terms of the church, we arrived in July, but we officially like launched in September. So we've been going for a few months now, almost 2 terms in our like third term. So yeah, it's full on, it's busy, but it's great fun and just learning loads and enjoying it as well. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and I know you're not there on your own. I know your wife Beth is youth pastor, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Beth, she's heads up the youth here. Yeah.
So before we go any further, Joe, I've got to ask you about some of the Minster Youth stuff. If you haven't seen Minster Youth on YouTube, you've got to get on YouTube and have a look. You guys have been doing some amazing stuff particularly through lockdown. We've tuned in. I know you've done stuff since you've arrived on YouTube. I know you're a really kind of proficient vlogger and you've done loads of cool stuff. I know you've done stuff with your gran as well, haven't you? Showing your gran different music and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just really fun to watch. There's one particular episode of the Minster Youth stuff I just want to touch on, which is your sports day that you've done recently. Which, as I say, if you haven't watched it, at the end of this video, go and watch it. It is amazing. I just wanted to check on your health, Joe, at the end afterwards. I know there was a bit of an incident, let's say.
There certainly was, yeah. I'm glad actually, because I feel like you're the only person that's given me a bit of everyone else has been a bit of a write-off. No sympathy. Yeah, especially at work. Everyone thought, oh, you didn't really injure yourself or anything. But yeah, I mean, Beth's doing an amazing job. It makes the weeks really fun. They release 2 videos a week, and one of them, the midweek video, is often either like a bit of an interview like this or something fun. So yeah, we did Home Olympics. So like, I think there was 4 events with like classic Olympic games like egg and spoon race around the house, and those well trained for events. And then we did a gymnastics event, which when Beth said it, I couldn't quite believe what I'd signed up to do. But yeah,
it's spectacular. It really is spectacular.
It's something else. I'll say that. I'm not sure I'll be getting a call up anytime soon for the next Olympics, but yeah, it's good fun. Yeah, I love being part of the youth team and everything they do at church. And now it's just a bit more probably visible to the wider outside of the church, just because it goes online and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm just so super proud of the whole church and churches all over, just like adapting so quickly and so well. I mean, there's just so much great content coming out from all sorts of churches in this weird time. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I think as well for kind of worship teams, it's been a strange period. I know certainly for us, we've obviously kind of been putting worship out every week through different means, and different Sundays have looked slightly differently depending who's been doing it. But obviously we've not been able to utilize everyone on the team, and have been just for tech or logistics and practicalities of doing stuff. So I imagine there are probably in every church some people who would normally be serving probably quite frequently and be involved in the kind of community side of worship team, who maybe aren't at the minute or are feeling a little bit distant or detached. Yeah, have you found that too? And how have you guys still tried to kind of build some level of community and friendship and togetherness in this season where we can all feel a little bit kind of detached from what that normally looks like?
Yeah, it's super difficult because it does feel like we see, especially um, Sundays, you know, it's big game day for us and for you guys. But most people on the worship team or the creative team will be serving in that team on a Sunday, and most of them serve most Sundays as well because we're a church plant. Everyone, you know, is mucking in. So yeah, everyone sort of, even if they're not serving on the creative team, they're serving on a different team, and they rarely have a week off. So it's been a massive shock to the system and a bit of a yeah, it does feel like everything's been stripped back, but I'm actually super proud of the team because they've adapted so well, and also because I guess the creative team aren't doing, there's less to do on a Sunday. It's more all pre-recorded and stuff like that. A lot of them, because we can't actually at the start we could obviously meet and video. We did the first couple in church with just a few of us in there. So we actually had a bit more team. And then as the weeks progressed, it was literally, it's just, oh, you can only do it in your house now. So it's just me and Beth. We sing on a Sunday. Then one of our team helps edit that service. And then the rest of them, they either help in other stuff like Minster Youth or Minster Kids, or just getting involved with a project called Love Your Neighbour, which is just like an outreach of helping those who are most vulnerable and most affected in our community with like food packages and care packages. And it's great because my Wi-Fi is really bad, so I have to pop into church to do like upload videos and stuff just because my Wi-Fi is so bad. And when I go in there, every time I'm just hiding in the corner, I see there's like people from the creative team, loads of them just serving just in different ways. So I'm super proud of them. And I can imagine it'd be quite hard, especially for me, like when you're not leading worship or you're not doing something you love and you feel like that gives you life. It can be quite hard when that's sort of taken away from you and you're not doing it on a regular basis. But they're doing so well, and they're just serving their socks off really, but in different areas that they might have been if we weren't in lockdown.
Yeah, and I think it also kind of, it can sound a bit cliche sometimes where people sort of go, you know, everything in your life is worship and it's not just singing on a Sunday. But I think there is a sense, obviously, that there's something irreplaceable about actually gathering and singing together and God moving and working in that space. But I think there is also something really profound about like the kind of worship team not just being the musicians and the techies and the singers, and you know, like there being a sense that actually we are living out what we sing. And I think there's something really powerful also then when we come to lead people in that. There's an authenticity that comes actually if you've been packing the food parcel, or if you've been, you know, ringing round someone vulnerable, or if you've been doing someone shopping for them, or if you've been, you know, on the prayer walk at 7 o'clock in the morning, or like I think there's something authentic, isn't there, that comes through from that place. And that's something that we can all do, you know, wherever we find ourselves, whatever we're doing. You know, we can continue to pray for our communities. We can, you know, if we can do practical stuff, that's great. But you know, there's ways that we can all continue to kind of lead worship wherever we are.
Yeah, exactly. And for us, when we started in September as a team, we just said we wanted to be the worshippers that go first. So like with Israel, you know, it was the worshippers that went first into battle, and so a sense of we want to, wherever the church is going, we want as the worshippers to be on that front line, to be going first, to sort of pave the way. And so, I mean, that looks different in so many different like aspects, but as you say, like one of them is just, you know, when we're doing a full day of care packages and feeding like 300 students, international students at UCLan. It was just amazing to see so many of the creative team just there, like paving the way, along with so many other great volunteers. But yeah, it really blessed me to see, without me even like saying, "Oh, guys, come on, we're the worshippers, let's go for it." They just sort of they took it on themselves. They just want to serve. Yeah, so we're really blessed to have them on our team. But it, yeah, as you were saying, it's been hard. It's been hard when that sort of that that chance to be doing those things you're so used to doing, like singing, or the visuals, or the sound has been like stripped away. But yeah.
Yeah. And I know certainly for you guys, I know something that we've chatted about before, and something that's really important for you guys as team is to not just be like overly task driven, but to have fun and family. I know you've said you've done various kind of team night activities, and you've kind of done. Did you go playing crazy golf at some point and other bits? Like I'd love just to hear from you, Joe, a little bit about kind of how you see the kind of importance of both, I suppose, the kind of musical, technical, come on guys, let's get this right sort of side. I know that when we've spoken before, like a practical thing that you guys have done is kind of encourage people not to use iPads or music, but to kind of get stuff in your head so you can be spontaneous and in that. But I guess balancing that against not being so task driven that you lose a sense of fun and community and family. So how do you kind of toe that line within your team and the way that you lead?
Yeah, I think it's probably a hard one. I don't think uh, personally I nail it every month and stuff. It is like it's a fine balance between, but I think it's such an important tension to get right, as you say. Like it's such a important tension to get right. So for us, as you say, like we want to strive for excellence. We want to strive for each week we're getting better, if that makes sense, with our own craft, whether that's taking photos or doing sound or visuals or playing drums or keys or leading. Each week we want to see sort of some progression, and that takes time and commitment, which for, you know, as volunteers, that's a big sacrifice to learn songs off by heart. But it's one that's definitely worth it. It really is, helps us really just gel as a band each week when we get together, but also, as you say, that spontaneity. But then in terms of the other side of the tension, or just you want to have fun, you just want to make it as although worship is this super serious thing, at the same time it's like the most fun thing we could be doing. It's such a privilege we could be doing, and so we don't want to just like dry that up and just make it a set of rules and formulas. We just really want to make it a place where we can be ourselves, we can express ourselves, we can laugh at ourselves. Like I'm always making mistakes with lyrics. For whatever reason, I just can't remember lyrics to save my life. So there's often like times where I forget lyrics, and just that sense of when we come off stage, everyone's sort of able to take the mick out of me, basically. So when I start singing the wrong song or something, and just that sense of like, oh, actually, it's okay that it did go wrong, but actually, it's a serious thing. But actually, we don't take ourselves seriously, and if we mess up, that's fine. So what we try and do, we do like team nights each month. And what we try and do, especially for this first, although lockdowns scuppered my plans a little bit, we try to just go on lots of socials. So our team nights are split into like 3 sort of cycles. So one of them's like input, so it's someone giving a talk or an interview or something. The other's like encounter. So we do like extended worship and just a place where there's no set list sort of thing, and we just start worshiping and see what happens really, and just wait on God. And then the third one is socials, and actually we've been trying to hit socials a lot, so like going crazy golf, stuff like that. I've got a few big plans hopefully for when we get back. Yeah, and I know we've been in teams where when you feel like you're friends with the team, it's just so much easier, isn't it? It's easier to get up earlier when you know your friends are there. It's easier to stay later. It's just more fun to be around, and everything. I think you just give yourself when you know you're with your friends. I'm so much like, I love that sort of team, band of brothers, like we'll all get over the line together. And I think I'd love that to be, and that's where I thrive. And I just think that's probably where most people do thrive, of like, where they feel like everyone's got your back, everyone wants to help each other over the line. And so I said at the start, look, I want to be like, for us to be the best team, I want us to be the best of friends, really. So the way to do that is just through shared experience and doing silly things like crazy golf, or just having a curry night together, or, do you know, where it's like we're just doing life together rather than, oh, we're just prepping a set list. And I think that's where, you know, as you were saying before, like the whole worship is a lifestyle. When you're just doing life with the people you're worshiping with, it's just sort of, it makes it easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, definitely. And I think, again, that's something that we can all still do in this season as well. You know, we can't gather on mass. I know we're looking at doing a worship Zoom quiz at some point, but, you know, it becomes more complicated to gather on mass. But certainly one-to-ones, you know, if there's people within the team, speaking to our team, but speaking to any team, I guess, that you either feel like you'd like to get to know better, but just never normally have time to, or, you know, it might be that there's a drummer and a bass player, and he actually be that like relationship, or 2 singers that maybe often sing together, or, you know, keys player and electric guitarist who think actually specifically our relationship as a kind of together within a band, but our relationship specifically is really important that we nail that. Then, you know, it's a good time when there's no evening meetings other than a few odd Zoom calls and stuff, you know, for people to be able to get together or go for a socially distant walk or something. You know, it's still possible to do that within this season, I think, definitely.
Usually, and I think sometimes, especially in church, and I'm super guilty of this, I'll only hang out when there's there's an event. So I'll only spend time with people when actually there's loads of people together and it's been organized by someone else, or it's like an official thing. But actually, the great thing about teams, when people just start, oh, I've not spent time with him or her for a while, I'll just hang out. And now we can obviously do your social distance walking with someone. So yeah, even just thinking like that, or I'll just go for like a 20-minute walk with someone, and just see how they're going. And yeah, just spending time together, and trying to put the onus on everyone in the team, rather than say yourself or another leader that's all right, I'll just wait till the next team night, especially in lockdown, when there's not actually, we've not been doing team nights. We've just been encouraging everyone to get involved in connect groups and just sort of mingle in with the rest of church. And I guess as well, I'd say that's a big part, if we can, as teams, not just become this like, oh, we're the creative team or the worship team, so we do everything together. But actually, that whole same thing, if you want to I want to be best friends with my team, but actually I want to know real people in the church. So when we're singing like the blessing over them, I'm picturing them. Or when we're singing a different song, I'm picturing that family or this family rather than just my team and my family, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's also easy from the congregation's perspective to be led by people that they know and trust as well. I know we find that works really well when we have our worship leaders kind of embedded within a congregation where people kind of, it's not like there's just strangers every week kind of going, I think that definitely helps. Joe, do you feel there's been anything that God's been kind of challenging you with or revealing to you specifically kind of in this season that maybe will has been poignant, or maybe is kind of coming at when we do eventually, whenever that is, come out, like whether there's stuff that will kind of actively look to change as a result of this kind of period of isolation that we're living in?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, there's been so much, I think. Yeah, I think the first one, probably the first lesson was this whole, we know there's so many churches like doing so many great things on a Sunday, but when you're in your church, you can't actually physically be at like another church, and then suddenly like every church you could ever think of is now online. So actually you can I just found like my heart was just super stuck in like a rut of comparison of like, oh, these guys are doing that, why aren't we doing this? And oh, they're doing that so much better than us. And so that was hard. That was probably the first lesson of like that whole comparison thing just like jumped up again. I think it's probably always there, but as I say, like when you're in your church on a Sunday, you can't physically be in another church. But now, literally there's always been so much content for Christians. There's so many great speakers, so many great worship leaders. But I think there was a sort of sense that that was them. That's sort of that's their sphere. And then when everyone started doing live streams or videos or worship sets, it became, oh, everyone's doing it now, sort of thing. So yeah, that definitely jumped up at me, and I was just, God was just sort of like, what are you, I've been trying to wrestle with, what am I called to personally, but also as like a church, what are we called to, what's my vision, what's the church's vision, and where do I fit into that? So like what I'm doing now, is that fitting into that vision? Is that fitting into who I'm meant to be, rather than just chasing lots of things? I was asked a really great question the other day, of like, what are you chasing? And so many days I'm trying to ask myself that each day, of like, what am I chasing? Like, is it views on YouTube? Is it so many people streaming with us on a Sunday morning? Or what am I chasing? And just sort of being aware of like, I don't think ambition's wrong at all. I don't think it's wrong to think, oh, I'd love to reach Preston. So if we can hit X amount of streams on a Sunday, we're a percentage towards that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I just think sometimes, for me personally, we can just like slip into chasing the number rather than the one we're trying to lead them to. So yeah, I've just been trying to ask myself that each day, like, what am I chasing? Am I chasing to be a better husband today? Am I chasing to be a better son or a better friend? Am I chasing, it's good to chase things, but sometimes it's good to just quickly work out, actually, what are you chasing today, Joe? And then I guess this whole thing about, you touched on it before, like, how do you lead worship when there's no one in the room? Like, as worship leaders, we like trained to, a phrase that I was always told, like, one eye on God and one eye on the congregation. And then when you're on Zoom and it's laggy, or when it's on like a camera and you're just like staring into a lens, like having a real sense of like, oh, what are you doing, God? Like, um, how can I sense a room that's not even there? Like, what are you doing in general in this city, rather than thinking, oh, in these X amount of people in this room right at this moment. I'm trying to now think, God, what are you doing generally? What are you stirring up in this city? What do you want us to be singing about? And then the whole shift from sort of what can we get out of it? What can I feel? Because I think as worship leaders, or as band members, or sound, or visuals, or photographers, or whatever it is, there's a sense of we get a bit of feedback from the room. So when a hand goes up or something, or when a song starts, it's like, although these are like amazing things and always good things, sometimes we can think, oh, that was a really good set because I saw that person who never puts their hand up put their hand up. Or do you know what I mean? It's just like, that's all been taken away. So it's really been thinking of like, how can I bless you, God? Like, it's just literally acoustic guitar, a mic that's set up. So for us on a Sunday, we just have me and Beth sat on our sofa, a camera and a mic on top of the camera, and then there's no even like audio, like post-production. It's just like, that's it there. So whatever it sounds like, it sounds like. So it's like, how can I just really use that to bless God? Like, we have this amazing privilege that we somehow can bless the heart of God. And it makes no sense that Joe, who lives in Preston, who can play a few chords on a guitar and sing a few songs, can bless the heart of God. It just makes no sense, but that's what it does when we sing our hearts out to Him. It blesses His heart. And then the great thing about that is, because of who God is, He always returns that blessing, like even more. So when it blesses His heart, He just returns that blessing. And I've been really enjoying actually just that whole sense of the audience of one, just really focusing on God and what He's doing and how I can bless His heart. So yeah, they're probably the two main things that have been like challenging me over the last few months. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think there's something really beautiful in that vulnerability. I remember logging in, doing a classic church hop that we were saying not to do in terms of. Oh no, it's not wrong to church hop. It's wrong to compare. But we stream at 10 and you guys are at 11. So there's been a few weeks where we finished ours and I've hopped on and just sort of seen what you guys are doing. And there was one week where we've just started a series on prayer. We're in end of May in 2020 if you're watching this retrospectively, but we've been looking at Pete Gregg's book How to Pray and the sort of PRAY model of prayer, and we just finished that. We had in the pipeline anyway, just lined up to bring Pray by Worship Central as a song through in that season, and we logged in, and that was the first song that you guys did that Sunday. I can't remember when it was now, it was a few weeks ago, and it just felt like so it just felt so right. And like, obviously there's no way that you would have known that that's what was happening, but it was really interesting to see like God's still speaking and working in amongst that kind of cross church in this weird season, you know, with you guys in your lounge beaming to us in our lounge in a different part of the country. You know, it's amazing how God's still working in amongst all that.
Massively. And like, I think like for us, it's like, I think we knew it, but I think we didn't know the full potential of it. And now that we're sort of forced into it, just the effect, you know, you can't limit God. Like even a poor internet connection, it might not make it the most smooth of services or streams or whatever, but you know, you can't, that doesn't limit God. And even though you're just practically singing into a camera lens, that doesn't limit God. And it's been great to hear like the stories not just in our church, but churches up and down the country, all across the world, of like worship just being sung in people's homes, and I think for us, like as a church, when we've been praying as like a staff team and like a core team, just a real sense of, just before lockdown happened, we had this series on churches. And basically the whole point is, church is not this building. This church is not Preston Minster's building. Church is like everywhere. Church is you, wherever you are. And then suddenly the week after, it's like, oh, we actually can't meet in church. And it's just been cool just to for us to see, like, and know that actually across Preston, and for you guys, like everywhere, like where we're streaming, it's not just located in this one place now. Actually, church is happening every Sunday morning, pretty much, probably in every street that we can maybe think of, really, which is just madness, it's just so cool to think that. And just for us as well, we've just been trying to think, like, again, just going back to that vision. What is our vision? So for us, it's we really want to focus on those who don't know Jesus. So we're trying to make our online service look like that. So although I love worship and I love 40, 50-minute set of worship, we're just doing 2 songs and they're split up. And we've just been like, again, exploring that over the last 10 weeks or so. Like, it's changed ever so slightly, but we feel like we've settled on this the structure. And that's basically just because we want someone who doesn't know Jesus, a non-Christian, to feel like it's quick paced. It's not like, oh, why is this guy still singing after half an hour? Because it is a bit different when it is over, you're watching it in your pajamas with your bowl of cereal in your lounge. And then, basically we just want it to be able for people to invite their friends to. So what an opportunity we've had. It's never, I mean, this phrase has been said so many times by so many people, but it literally is never easier to invite your friend to church, because as I say, they don't even have to like come into a building. They can just rock up out of bed, just turn their laptop on and be in church, essentially, which is just, it's a cool, like, it's unprecedented, really, isn't it, to be in this time? It's like, it's really cool.
Yeah, it is. And it's, I think it's also fascinated me how so often as churches generally, we put so much time, energy, money, manpower into trying to make our buildings somewhere that we can invite people to come to. And then sometimes we're surprised when, if people aren't familiar with the church building, that, a disappointingly few number of people, with all the effort we put in, actually end up coming to our building. And now we're in the total opposite position, where actually, there's more people searching out church and prayer online than ever before. And suddenly, like, rather than us inviting them in, they're actually inviting us into their home. And it's just an amazing way, I think, that the tables have kind of turned a bit. And I think it gives us a really exciting opportunity to reach people in a way that we probably never normally would be able to, in that sense, in terms of the accessibility of church.
Definitely.
Yeah. Joe, before we go, have you got a particular like song or artist that you're listening to at the minute that you would recommend if people want to kind of expand their musical library a little bit, listen to some, whether it's worship or kind of Christian singer-songwriter kind of stuff? Is there something faith-filled that we can listen to that will inspire?
Yeah, gosh, it's been quite a cool time, hasn't it, just to sort of listen to good chunks of music. I love albums. I love that whole album experience of the whole journey of an album. So I'm a big album guy, and there's been loads of great albums I've been listening to. But in terms of like faith-filled, Um, there's probably two that I've gone back to actually. They're not like new or anything. One is Hillsong United. I think the album is called Wonder. It's the one with like So Will I and Wonder on. I think it's called Wonder. And then actually I've been listening when I've been doing my, this is when I listen to the most music at the moment. When I do my weekly shop, to try and like block out everyone that's getting into my personal space in the supermarket. I just put headphones in and listen to an album as I go around Aldi. So I've actually, last time, I just really enjoyed it as an album and just as an honest album. It's Governor B's Hands Are Made for Working. So I think it's his latest one. It's his one before something. So a few years old. But actually, I'd heard a few songs off it, but I'd not listened to the whole album. But I think there's just this great honesty about that, and actually, like, just it's almost a bit of a lament, but not a lament. If that makes sense, it's like it's just a great sort of album that expresses someone that has doubts, like we all do, but actually stamps their feet on solid ground by saying statements that he might not have even believed at the time he was writing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've definitely done that, where you write things where actually I'm sort of saying this to myself to help myself believe what I'm saying. So yeah, I definitely recommend that. Of just like, just an album where you can just give God everything, whether that's the highs or the lows and your anxieties and all those things that are keeping you up at night or whatever. You can just give everything to God, and he's still the same. He's still there. He's still faithful, and he never lets go of a promise. He never gives up on a promise, which is amazing.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Joe, thank you so much for your time today. Can I pray for you quickly before we sign off? Father God, I thank you so much for Joe and for Beth and for just who they are, their character, and what they bring to that team at Preston Minster, Lord. We pray that your kingdom would come in Preston, that your will would be done in that place, in that space. And we pray as they continue to journey through streaming online and working out what things look like in this season, but also beyond this, as we start to gather back as church. So we pray that you would be so present with them, and that we would see some incredible stories and testimonies coming out of that place. Amen.
Amen. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it so much. We love you guys. We're cheering you on. And yeah, it'd be great to actually join teams together at some point when it'd be amazing.
Yeah. We've been saying there's been a few. We're going to have, like, I think the culmination of everyone that's been on these Hangouts. We're going to have like the most massive worship thing. When we come out of lockdown, we'll have our own like mini festival. It'd be like the big church day out north again, branded differently. But yeah, no, it'd be really cool to kind of get together and do something face to face as teams. That'd be great. Thanks so much, Joe.
Thanks.
Take care.